was some really cool stuff at CanJam New York City. We just got back. I'm here with the whole team, and we're going to tell you what our favorite things were from the show.
All right, so what I wanted to do in this video is get a sense from the other folks who weren't in our recent CanJam wrap-up video, just to hear what you guys heard at the show and what were some of the standout products that you guys heard. And for those who haven't seen the CanJam wrap-up video, that'll be linked in the description. When we start with Chrono, what did you hear at the show that you thought was super dope?
That would be the stacks.
The stacks.
Some of you may have seen the brain melting moment already, but I had my first major E-stat experience, and I never really expected them to sound like that. It's really hard to describe, but they don't sound quite like any other on-head system that I've experienced. I don't think it would replace a headphone for me, but it's certainly very unique, and it's one of the just most ethereal and outstanding listening experiences I've had probably since I started reviewing stuff. So for me, the biggest standout was definitely the E-stats. I think I tried the L700 Mark IIs, and then obviously the HiFiMan Shangri-La Senior. So
the brain melting moments were fun. I think a lot of us actually really enjoyed the stacks. I'd heard them before. I think a number of us had heard them before, but it's always fun because we don't get a chance to have that stuff in, through the studio or anything like that. And I'm actually looking to try and get some of that stuff in for review, because that's definitely something missing from our kind of catalog of stuff that we've covered. So that's on the radar. Was there anything else that you heard? I know you listened to the Maxwell, which is actually from Odyssey, which is something that I'm wearing right now.
Oh, really?
But I want to get your sense of the Maxwell's sound signature when you're listening to it.
Honestly, it was a bit hard to say, just because obviously I wasn't using my own demos. So they had like old school Battlefield 4 gameplay, and I think one of the Burnout games. I think that was an Xbox 360 game. So it was kind of old. I mean, performance wise, you're getting a level of clarity that no other gaming headset that I've tried achieves. And that is also including things like the Penrose, the Mobius. This was definitely a step up, not only in sound quality for its performance, but also in comfort. And I found that it had again, hard to say because of the demos. It wasn't stuff I was super familiar with, but I thought it had a slightly flatter sound signature than
more neutral.
Some of their previous headphones, because the other one sounded quite a bit warm for me, but this one I thought had a better upper mid-range and slightly more present lower treble, and the bass wasn't. I thought was actually a bit leaner on the Maxwell, but I'll have to see once I actually get my hands on it, which I'm really excited to try out at home.
That's the that's sort of the newer style Odyssey tuning, right? If I understand correctly, the LCD5 and MM500 have a bit more upper mid compared to the previous models.
So yes, they do, but I would actually expect the Maxwell. I haven't measured it yet. I'm about to. That's why I'm wearing it. I'm told that it's actually meant to be a little closer to Harman, which should be interesting.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Caleb, was there anything in particular that you tried that really stood out to you at the show?
Yeah, I think there are there are 3 things that I tried that really stood out to me. I think. Well, I'm writing a piece on XMEMS, their new IEMs which they demoed. I got a chance to hear it, and it's a new driver type. It's a little exotic. My understanding is that it requires a specific electronics to power it properly. So in that sense, I sort of see it as analogous to electrostatics that everybody is so familiar with. But the sound quality. The demo was a little guided, so it was a bit hard to tell what the true sound quality is. The one unit that I was listening to didn't have any DSP applied to it. The other one did. But the way the driver presented itself was actually pretty unique, I think, in terms of IEMs. I found the treble to be quite articulate, and the bass you really felt like sort of the excursion of the driver, but without any sort of coloration. So you don't really hear the delay necessarily. So it felt very seamless. And I thought, it's a very interesting technology, and I can definitely see it coming as sort of a replacement to BAs in terms of driver setup in new in-ears.
For those who are unfamiliar, Caleb does a lot of the written articles that you see up on headphones.com on the audiophile blog. So definitely check that stuff out. Did you try anything else? Did you try any over ears as well?
Yeah, I did. I tried the Raal Requisite stuff.
I was there.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question actually after this. But so I tried the SR1A, which is sort of their Danny, the guy at the booth, called it ear field speakers because they're like cheese graters up against your ear, right? And I tried the more conventional headphone, which I believe is called the CA1A. I really liked those actually quite a bit. But the tuning really depends on which pads you have, right?
Right.
So it is a bit genre specific. It won't excel on everything, but the genres where it does excel in it, like it really elevates a lot of like instrumental type music. And Chrono, I actually wanted to ask you because you mentioned stacks was kind of the thing that stole your breath away during the show, but you were there with me listening to Raal stuff. Like, how did they compare for you?
It didn't. They're very different experiences, I'd say. Mm-hmm. What's neat about the Raal SR1A, it's more like having like speakers in a room. However, I'd say like what really made the stacks stand out is just how clean and detailed they were and how good they were at like separating all the different tracks in the mix. Every single performance that a record captured, it was so easy to pick out when listening through the stacks. Whereas with the SR1A, I'd say it was more like it was like outside your head, but it's more of a wall of sound sort of thing, if that makes any sense.
Let's move on to Golden Sound. You got a chance to go around and try a bunch of stuff. What were some of the highlights for you?
The two biggest highlights for me actually were interestingly things which weren't on show at the show itself in terms of they weren't vendors there. It was Chronicles Project Red. That is going to be crazy good for the money. I think, Chrono, you tried that as well, right?
That was the first brain-melting moment of the CanJam experience. Although it wasn't in CanJam, so it was at a bar the night before CanJam, and I was just like, it was mind blown. Too bad we didn't have a camera there. But everybody who was there saw it. Caleb was there, Chronicle was there, Cameron was there. It was fun. And that was really
we had recorded that.
We all got a chance to hear it too. DMS and I did both versions too.
What did you think?
Yeah, I loved it. I same thing. I think it's something that's going to basically make every other... Well, I'm not sure what he's going to sell it at, but it's going to make many IEMs redundant, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's stuff's going to have to be really quite good to beat that. And he did mention the price. I won't repeat it in case it changes or whatever, but it's it's going to make a lot of stuff redundant. That was really good.
It's like a disruptor in the market.
That's going to be really cool. And the second thing for me was actually Ryan's Modhouse Tungsten prototype. He had two of them there.
The gold one.
A gold one and a silver one. And the final version's not going to be quite the same as either of those two. But the gold one in particular, whilst it's the hardest to drive headphone you can get, basically, it's 180 ohms and I think 73 decibels per milliwatt. You could just plug it into anything and max it out and it just wouldn't really get all that loud. It sounded fantastic. And for the price that he's aiming for, that again is, I think, going to be quite a disruptor. It's really good.
So Cameron, what did you power it off on if it eats that much power?
We tried a few things. We tried the DCS Lena stack and we tried the Hollow May and Bliss stack, both of which again you can kind of max it out. I think the DCS Lena on high gain because it's got more gain, so you can output higher voltage, even though it's not as powerful in terms of wattage as the Bliss. That one could get it a bit louder. You just need infinite gain. You just need as much as you can possibly get. That thing was a monster to drive, but it sounds brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the final version of that.
DMS?
Favorites from the show.
Yeah. You can't say the people.
Okay. Favorite from the show. I had 3. I didn't get to hear as many things as I wanted to, but there were some really cool stuff. I actually liked Dan's new E-Stat. It's not my top 3, but I did like it because it was something different, an E-Stat that does bass.
That was called the Carina, I think?
I knew it started with a C, but the name eludes me for some reason. I thought that was pretty cool. But my top 3 interesting things from the show that stood out. Modhouse Tungsten, of course, just because it's so out there. Seeing Golden Sound here try that on the Bliss at max volume and it like just barely making sound was hilarious. Chronicles Project Red, where those revisions are going, I thought that was really, really cool. And I think at this point he could have released it already. But I like that he's taking the time to kind of go back and get everyone's opinions again and again and again and like really, double check everything he's doing. And Auteur Classic, which, can you even see it on camera? Nope. But yep, right there, which I ended up picking up because I loved that at the show. Yeah, but those were definitely my top 3, but I'm also very interested in trying Dan's new eStat a bit more because I've never seen an eStat that does anything quite like that, and I think that was a big step up from his previous entry into the electrostatic world.
Yeah, that one was a lot better than the Voce. A lot better.
Yeah, this is, we get kind of, the show impression stuff, but sometimes that changes when you get a thing in and spend more time with it, and you realize, it's either better than what you thought it was at the show, maybe you thought it was like only okay at the show, or there was a thing at the show you didn't notice that you noticed later on. So that maybe is like a quirk or something you don't like. So yeah, got to spend more time
Since
with that
the show, I've only started liking Auteur Classic more.
I'm curious to hear that one because I love the original.
Yeah, it's just like that, but more of what I like.
Not the Auteur Classic.
It's quite a charming headphone. It has a very pleasant sound to it.
Yeah,
the new
it's my favorite tuning of all the ZMFs.
I remember seeing on the last day DMS walking out of the room with the Auteur Classic on. I was like, he looks so happy.
And actually something that was at that show, it wasn't new to the show, but it was at that show, that I think is also criminally underrated. And I don't know if you guys will agree on this, but honestly, MM500. And I have a couple of reasons for that.
I agree.
I know people who really don't like that headphones.
It's something that I wish was around back when I had my studio. I think as a professional headphone, it does an incredible job of being both a very good professional headphone, but also a very good hi-fi headphone at the same time and kind of meshes both worlds together.
I wish that the clamp were not as extreme because it is a vice grip on my
and you know what's funny? I think I told you this, but I actually wish it had a little bit more clamp for my head.
Yeah.
Because I end up getting top pressure.
Crazy.
And I like clampy headphones because it takes pressure off the top. So I actually took the MM500 here, I bent it in a little bit, and it made it way more comfortable for me.
Oh.
So.
Crazy.
We all got different shaped heads.
My head's just like 4 times the size of yours.
Which is weird because we're like about the same height, I think. We're just differently shaped.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't make sense, but different. Yeah. The thing is, it's really difficult to design, like mechanical design for headphones for a wide range of different head shapes. That's why when
head-related clamp function.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like that's where the ones that do it really well, it's remarkable, right? Like, do you remember? I'm not sure everybody had a chance to try these, but like there were those AudioQuest headphones that like they were so comfortable, and everybody found them unbelievably comfortable. Yeah, like the sound quality is not that great, but man, were they ever comfortable? And I wish more stuff was designed like that.
I mean, I have these Audio Technicas with their wing design. That was a weird one.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me.
I see you put the elastic piece on top.
Well, that's why I got the elastic.
That's the thing. I have a set of those, and I had to do the exact same thing to the top of the rubber band.
There's some which take quite a basic approach, like the Raal CA1A. That one's interesting because it looks like it's going to be really uncomfortable, but then the fact that it's just got kind of a loose leather strap, it makes it really comfortable because it just conforms straight to your head. Memory foam pads, super comfy.
Yes. So my experience with that one was a bit opposite because I think I'm a pretty similar build to DMS, pretty like slender, except DMS is like 2 heads taller than me. But I literally had to hold it up to hear it because it was like just like falling down basically.
Did you adjust the leather strap bit? You can like kind of
I did. Yeah. Oh. I was adjusting. Well, maybe I didn't see how to properly adjust it, but I saw that it was as tight as it could go, and I had my elbows on the table and I was like holding it up like this, just trying to listen to music. But man, it was good. It was a good listen.
Since this was right next to the Raal table, what do you guys think of the ATHW 2022? It was the $9,000 closeback from Audio Technica.
Oh. It was the best Audio Technica closeback that I've heard, but I mean the bar wasn't exactly high with the Oct and Awas. Those are not great. Let's just be blunt. But this one I thought was way better than those.
I like that more than the 5,000.
The Open?
Yeah, but to be fair, I didn't really like the Open 5,000 that much.
Yeah, this is a little bit. It's more V-shaped, or like it's warmer. it's extra bass for sure.
It was very punchy.
You know what what it reminded me of? It's like if Beyerdynamic made a ultra expensive DT770 with better resolution.
That is actually a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what it would sound like. And it was also very comfortable, I think. And it sealed pretty good, for me at least. So
Yeah.
it was a fun headphone,
Here's a
I
question.
think. It's just obviously, $9,000.
On that kind of general topic, do you guys feel that closed back headphones are advancing in terms of overall sound quality faster than open backs are at the moment?
Yes and
Hard to
no.
say.
It is tough because like things like MM500, you wouldn't get something that measures that good in an open back, 5-6 years ago. Besides like maybe an HT600, but come on, that's an exception to the rule.
They're actually very similar as far as how they measure. I think there's a little more treble on the HT600s.
Closebacks are definitely getting better, but I think it's just headphones as a whole because like we're seeing more things now that are cheap that are getting good, and we're seeing more things like the price ceiling is also going up. So I think it's getting better in both directions. You're seeing more flagships than ever. They're getting more expensive than ever that are better than ever, but also a lot of really good tech and really good designs that are trickling down to things that people can realistically afford, your average person.
See, I think in terms of like something getting better, I sort of see it sort of two ways. If closed back headphones, I sort of see it as sort of being catching up. Like nowadays we're getting newer and newer headphones that are better tuned, such as those AKGs or the Focal Radiants that are like really nicely tuned. But I also see it on the flip side where closed back headphones have sort of this uniqueness to them where, you can have very unique sounds like that Audio-Technica $9,000 headphone or the ZMF stuff, right? Where they're closed back and they have some very unique qualities to them. So I don't know about if they necessarily need to chase after the open back headphones necessarily in terms of sound quality. I think they can really carve out a niche for themselves. It's sort of the way I look at it.
Yeah, not everything needs to be, exactly the same sound signature. And if you have different set of conditions with closed backs than you do with open backs, there's actually like advantages. People don't realize this, but to certain aspects of the acoustics with closed backs, even though there are a whole bunch of disadvantages as well, being able to add a bass lift, for example, is something you can do more easily with the closed back.
Think about this. When I first started doing YouTube reviews, which was like maybe somewhere between 6 and 7 years ago, something like the HE400 SE simply didn't exist. Like the cheapest planar headphone you could probably buy at the time was like HE400i or something like that, and that was still, what, $350 roughly? Something in that ballpark?
That'd be the closest thing to that one. I think there was the HE400 and HE4 maybe? There were those the four versions from HiFiMan.
HE400, yeah, but HE400 was replaced by 400i, and the HE400 used to be like 300, 350. So, but things like the 400 SE, like $120 to $150 planar, that never existed 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing. So I feel like across the board, everything's just getting more and more affordable and better.
Speaking of closebacks, I know a few of us tried the Atrium closed from ZMF. For me, it was not the right tuning. I much preferred the open. It got better with the other pads. I think when Cameron put the I can't remember which, was it suede pads? Then it got a little bit better, I thought.
Yeah, the suede pads. Those made a big
improvement. Yeah. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that one because that's another new product that was shown off at the show.
So having been a person that has enjoyed a lot of ZMF headphones and bought a lot of ZMF headphones, I did think it was good, but I think I liked Verite closed and Icon still a bit more. Icon has a special place in my heart, and Verite closed, especially with those suede pads, it does something special for me. And Atrium closed was good, but I still prefer the tuning, I think, of Verite closed more.
I need to listen to an Icon again because it's been a while. But yeah, I had that similar kind of thing where, going from one to to another with the Verite, and it was like that's clearly the best closed back, at least for me, what I liked.
It was lighter though.
I loved the look of it and the design of it. But yeah, I just preferred the tuning of the open ones in general for that system. Cameron, what were your thoughts on it?
I didn't like them with the stock pads. With the stock pads, I wasn't really a fan. And then as soon as I put the suede pads on, and I can't remember who told me how to do that, or told me to do that, it was much better. I really enjoyed them quite a lot then. I would say though that I do prefer the open atrium. They sound, I think, more similar to the open atrium than the Verite closed do to the Verite open, which is interesting. Like it's quite similar to the open variant, but I do prefer the open one. So it kind of depends on if you need a closed back or not. If you don't, then I would go for the open atrium. I'm not as much of a fan of the Verite closed just because I find it to be quite a bit more colored than the atrium, but it's much more resolving, so trade-offs. Yeah, once you put the suede pads on it though, I was impressed how uncompromised it was for a closed back. That was the word that kept coming to mind. It's really quite airy for a closed back. It doesn't have a lot of the tuning issues that other headphones which are closed tend to have. So I liked it, I was impressed by it, but I would go for the open atrium instead.
Right, gotcha. Trying to think if there's anything else that was new. Did anybody hear the closed HiFiMan, the Audivina?
No way.
Audivina?
I saw the line and I saw how let's say aesthetically compromised it looked. So I wasn't
Okay.
I was like, I think I'll wait for another chance at this, maybe next time.
I will say I hope that they didn't tune. I hope they didn't tune that one the same way that some of the other closed back planars have been tuned. I'll just put it that way.
Let me just crush your dreams right there and say 2 words.
Oh, you did hear it.
HiFiMan closed back.
Okay, well.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like you hope that they could ever, achieve some kind of the sound that they have with their open backs or their closed backs.
Right.
But actually, when I interviewed Dr. Fang Bian about their closed back stuff that they're doing, he kind of told me that it's basically impossible to get it to sound like the open backs, and so they don't even they go for something different given that they have different constraints with closed back, which is fair enough. It wouldn't be cool if you could have like an HE1000 closed, and it kind of looks like that. That's why I had high hopes, but I hadn't heard it, so I'll wait to pass judgment until
I should note that a show impression isn't indicative of a full review.
So you did hear it?
I did hear it, yeah, but it
okay,
was a show impression, so I don't feel like I can justly say that's a full review. But my general impression of that is that I've never really enjoyed a HiFiMan closed back, and that opinion still continues for me. However, that is just my opinion.
Change that opinion for you.
So
yeah. No, it's fact. Come on. This is all facts.
Speaking of pretty unique stuff. So at Vision Ears, they had 2 prototype in-ears. Did you guys ever come across those?
I didn't.
Nope.
No, yeah. So they had this thing where they had this red and blue in-ears, and it was completely essentially as blinded as can be. And what they made you do is you had to listen to both, and they wanted to fill out a little card talking about pros and cons, what you liked, and you submitted it, and you could win a draw for one of their, I think it's their VE20 in-ears. And yeah, the 2 in-ears are pretty different, and I think everybody who listened to them had a definite preference for one or the other. I preferred the blue one. When I was talking to a lot of the members of the community, it was basically split down the middle. A lot of people really like the red, a lot of people really like the blue. And what I found out speaking to Oliver, the guy who tuned the in-ears, he said that these were going to be their flagship. So whatever decision they make for the red or the blue one, where they finally go to create it and mass produce it, I think it's going to be really interesting, what they actually decide to do with it.
That's a really good way of doing it, though. Why don't more manufacturers get mass community opinions at stuff like CanJam, though?
This is something that we actually did at SoCal for something that, we're not talking about it yet, but we did it actually, at SoCal. It was similarly shocking to me how split the community was on, I had a very strong preference for one, and a lot of other people did as well for that one, but then just as many people did, for the other one that we were testing it against. And so it was okay, well, what do we do with that information?
Right.
If it's, pretty evenly split down the middle. And I think that's the other downside is that there is a wow factor that you get with show impressions where the things that are the more, let's say they have more flair to them, they're bound to stand out a little bit more than the things that are just a little bit more even keel. So for some of you guys, this was your first ever CanJam experience. What are things that people can look forward to? What are some things, that people can anticipate or try and take away from one of these events, and whether or not you'd recommend it?
So the most important thing is you have a plan, right? So I looked at all these these brands that I've known about, and I really wanted to hear your stuff, and I never would have had a chance to hear it other than CanJam. And then I got so sidetracked talking to people at industry, and I kept saying to myself, I'll hear it later, I'll hear it tomorrow, I'll sit down maybe after the show, just, when everybody else has left, and have a bit more quiet setting for myself. And time came and went, and in the end I ended up not hearing a lot of the things that I wanted to hear. The nice thing is that I did manage to speak to a few industry people, so maybe I can try and line up a few like review units. But beyond that, it's you really gotta know what you want, do it right away, and then everything else can come after.
And Chrono?
It was really great. It's I think what you look for in an event like this, and I think this is just like reflecting on my experience at CanJam, is that it's really an opportunity to immerse yourself in the audio hobby, and you have all these interactions with countless amount of people who are just as passionate about this stuff as you are. So you get to talking to the designers of some of your favorite products, the manufacturers, talking to other show attendees, and also, sort of what Caleb mentioned, things you wouldn't normally get to try out. There's a lot of rare gear at CanJam, like the E-Stats that are somewhat elusive, or, you have the entire fleet of ZMF headphones that you can try out with a bunch of different tube amps. So all that stuff is just really incredible, and it's just a fun time.
Would you guys recommend this for people to check out if they're sort of, just getting into the hobby?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think for me, it kind of reinvigorated my enjoyment of the hobby a bit, actually. I read a lot of written articles, and a lot of it comes down to, chi-fi, right? And at some point it's all I don't even have to listen to it. I kind of know exactly how it sounds like, and I can pick out its exact price kind of thing. But coming to here and listening to all the gear and meeting all the industry people, now in my head I'm thinking, oh, there's so much I can talk about, so much I can write, so many stories to tell, and I think that's what makes it really fun, honestly.
If you don't come to
Right.
CanJam, Zeos is going to climb out of your headphones when you're out looking, and he's going to give you tinnitus. So come make friends with people at CanJam.
Another thing to mention about CanJams, though, is that whilst a lot of people go wanting to try something specific or something that they wouldn't otherwise get a chance to hear, often a lot of the best stuff is the stuff that you didn't even think about or didn't even know about ahead of time. The stuff that you just see at a booth or find and try out and go, oh, hang on, this is better than the other things I tried or what I was planning to buy anyway. Those are quite often the best things. So another reason to come to CanJam is there is going to be a lot of stuff that you didn't even realize was going to be there that you might not even been aware of, and that might be really, really good and really to your preference. So yeah, come to CanJam. Try everything.
Go to CanJam.
I think that for me, the big thing with CanJam is that it is basically it's a way for real people to get together rather than the just the squabbles among assholes online happening. And
Are you saying that
really
Discord isn't reflective of real society?
Turns out, right? And these events, these shows really demonstrate that. So if you're looking for real human interaction in this with this kind of subculture that we all love, I can't think of a better place to do that than at one of these shows. So highly recommended from me.
Yeah, come spend time with your fellow headphone nerds. It's really fun to see that others of us actually do exist in the real world.
Yes, we have bodies and we're not AIs.
I'm not just I'm just not just a more amorphous floating head that exists on your screen.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised.
I mean, okay, we don't need to go too far.
I was really surprised.
Zeus's face is blurry in real life, though. That is a fact.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Zeus really doesn't have a face.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
he is actually really
It
blurry.
really is. You walk up and you see him, it's just actually pixels in the air. I think it's a medical thing. Well, that's probably going to wrap it up, but I think these are pretty fun. Hopefully we can do more in the future, but that depends on what you guys think. So if you like this video, leave a like down below. Comment letting me know what you want to see in the future. If you want to get active in the community, you can at the Discord or the forum, both linked in the video description. And as always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this from us in the future. Till next one, guys. Peace.
You could be like a radio announcer with that voice.